Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Fort Solis. I play on the PS5, it's also available on the PC via Steam, and supposedly it's coming to the Xbox eventually. Oh, and one quick thing, I will be taking next week off because I'm going to sink about 2 weeks into Starfield since it's such a massive ass game. And I'm sure I probably won't even beat it then. So let's get into the story. You play as Jack Leary. You are basically a repairman, mechanic, engineer, whatever you want to call him, on Mars. You and your partner Jessica are on a repair job when an emergency call comes in, at which point in time you split off and go to the titular Fort Solis. Once you get there, there's no one to be found and some spooky goings-on start to occur. You begin to investigate and slowly piece things together. The first thing I'm going to say is while I did enjoy the story, I really feel like they definitely could have expanded more upon it. They definitely needed to put some more stuff in there because it's a very short story. You can beat this game in about 1 day. That's how short the story is, and with the way it's set up, you can actually go back and get the alternate ending right away. Let's get into the audio, and the sound effects are kind of standout in this game because it's very much spooky, mystery, horror kind of thing, so the sound effects are incredibly important in those kind of games, and they do a good job here. They also do a good job with the voice acting. I think they delivered very well. Obviously, Troy Baker is a standout because he's Troy Baker, and I think the voice actor for Jessica did a phenomenal job as well. Those were my two standouts, I would say. As for the soundtrack, I think it's pretty good. I really love the end credits song, but let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot. And this is an interactive narrative. It's whatever you want to call that kind of game. That's what I call them. It's third person. You do a bit of exploring. It's actually a bit light on the exploring. And unfortunately for this game, the gameplay is where this game falls apart. Firstly, your movement speed is meandering at best. Like, your guy has no fucking urgency despite what's going on in the story. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm a pretty fast walker, and this dude would piss me the hell off if I was stuck behind him. But he's never really getting moving, and there's no option to make him move faster, which is beyond frustrating, especially when you do a bit of backtracking to try and get the added information that you can get, what few collectibles there are. But like most interactive narratives, there are QTEs, and this game never sets them up well or gives you a good heads up. They just kind of happen, and they're very easy to miss. The symbols aren't always large enough, they're not necessarily bright enough, they don't do enough to stand out, they don't give you a warning sound. And I will say, I don't know how much they entirely mattered. There are a few that absolutely matter, and that's near the end of the game, but I don't know how much the other ones matter because, I mean, maybe you'll do an action, but the story still seems to go the same way. There are no dialogue options like a lot of other interactive narratives, so that's another thing. And I should say, I feel like the walking thing is meant to pad this game out rather than having really filled out the story and added some more to it. They padded it out by making you move as slowly as possible. Let's get into the controls, and I think the controls are fine. I will say the movement feels a bit sluggish. Your character's response to the movement is kind of like steering a blob. It's just not great, what can I say? Whereas the camera controls, and when you do have to do QTEs or interact with objects, the responsivity is fine. I really think it works. I will say I think they could do some better explanation with some of the QTEs, because when it comes to the movement ones, sometimes you need to hold down on the stick, other times you just need to tap on the stick, and you really don't know which one you need to do until you didn't do it. But let's get into the graphics and visuals, and it's actually a very good looking game. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's like the end all beat all, it's not the most beautiful thing you're ever going to see, but it is still a good looking game. I think it's close to getting up there. Although I will say I didn't see anything that warrants this being like PS5 only. I think this could probably run pretty well on a PS4. But like I said, it looks good. There are some subtle details that I wish they put more effort into. You know me, I love those subtle details, tire treads, footprints, etc. But even just some smaller things like your character gets dust on them, but it never really goes away. It just seems like a permanent part of their outfit at this point. So I wish they would have done a little bit more with something like that, just because I love those little details. But what they do very well is build the world. You're going into a place with some offices, some living quarters, and the offices feel like an individual's office. It feels like someplace, somewhere, like they worked and they spent a lot of time working there. You can find subtle details in like the conference room. Somebody must have had like a bad back or something because they have a pillow on their chair. Stuff like that. But even the living quarters, they feel properly lived in. Just everything about what they built visually, the world that they built is phenomenal. I was just really impressed with that. Making Fort Solis seem like something you'd find on Mars, like a base that we had set up in the near future. And I gotta say, the animation, like while your character's movement is sluggish, the movement looks good. Any character movement you see throughout the game, I think is very well done, very well captured, very believable. So I'm gonna get into the wrap up now, and what I'm gonna say is, while I enjoyed the story, there needed to be more to it. I think the story that they told was cool, and I think these guys have hopefully a bright future. I really want them to make a longer game. Unfortunately, the gameplay mechanics and those shortcomings really drag the entire experience down. So I'm gonna land on, I don't have a problem recommending it, but on a very heavy discount, because the length of the game combined with the mechanics that I just don't love, I really think it's enjoyable, but paying full price for it like I did is, just not there. Which I hate to do, because I want to see these guys thrive and I want to see them go forward and make something new, but at the same time, it's hard to recommend this game at full price. Okay, in the comments down below, why don't you tell me what's your favorite movie on Mars? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share and subscribe. Have a good one.